Blog Talk Radio.
What up, what up, what up? What's going on, everybody? It's the CT Sports Radio with Nick Gill. Of course, I'm your host, Nick Gilliard. And it's been a while since I've had a radio show going. It's been a while since I did a show, and a lot's happened, including a lot with my Chicago Bears. But we're going to get into that later. We'll get into that because NFL, we have a problem, and it's a big problem. And I don't see a change, and I don't see how to change it. But look around the NFL. Look at all the teams. Look at everything that's going on. It's an infirmary. It's an infirmary. So we're here, the NFL, this is what the NFL is doing. They're trying to make the game safer, right? Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with making the game a little safer. Taking away those brutal hits, those head-on collisions. I get it. What I don't get is the no padded practices, is the no hitting in practice. Mind you, there was hitting in practice in the 90s. There was hitting in practice in the early 2000s. There was hitting in practice as long as NFL's been around. Nobody's playing in the preseason. It's becoming a disaster. It's becoming a watered-down NFL. Look around the league. There's guys out there we never even heard of. Guys, we're losing 3, 4, 5 guys at a time during games on each team. You want to know why? Because they're not hitting. They're not putting on pads. There's nothing wrong with a couple nutcrackers. If you ever played football before, you know what I mean by nutcrackers. There's nothing wrong with tackling. There's nothing wrong with angular pursuit drills. That's how you get the body ready to play in the NFL. I'm not going to pretend I know what it's like to play on an NFL team. I'm not even going to know what it's like to play on a college team. Never played there. Never played on those levels. But I can tell you what, when your body's used to getting hit, when your body's used to going through the rigors of two-a-days and all that, you're ready to play football. You get a couple preseason games. In our case, it was jamborees in high school. You're ready to play football. You're trying to protect the game, but they're hurting the game by coddling these players during practice. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe at all. They're not putting any pressure on any of these kids, men at practice or stars at practice to participate and go through these drills, because if you see it, these are all non-contact injuries. With a couple of exceptions here and there, these are non-contact injuries. Guys are just falling. Guys are just rolling ankles. Guys are just pulling hamstrings. Guys are just popping knees without hitting anyone. You know why? Because they're not hitting in preseason or practice. It's not a fluke. It's not a coincidence. Go back in the days, look at the players who play in the preseason, look at the players in here. Yeah, you get some disastrous injuries here and there from back, early 2000s, 90s, but not as much as this. The facts are there. Go back and look at them. Go back and look at how many injuries there were back then when people had full padded practices and they were going at it in practice and it was physical. It's not working. It's not working. The old NFL was working. I get it. CTEs, concussions, all that. I understand. People are still getting concussions. People are still getting hurt. It's a violent game. You can't take the violence out of a violent game. It's just not going to work. You don't want to play football. You don't want your kids to play football. Don't sign them up. It's not for everyone. But it is, and always will be at its core, a violent football game. A violent game. You know how it works. You know how it works. This is a collision sport, and nobody's colliding in practice. So you got all these injuries. I'll give you a minute. Go pull them up. Go pull them up. It's a disaster. It is a disaster. If you look at week by NFL, in the NFL, you have all these guys falling by the wayside, all these guys on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list. You got all these players on IR. And it's within the first game, the first couple of plays, by halftime, because they're not ready to play contact football at the highest level. You got to start going back to this hitting in practice. You got to start going back to full pads. Not every practice. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying every practice, because obviously that's going to put a beating on your body. You'll be worn out before the game even started. But a couple of days a week, full padded practice, goal line stances, come on. The NFL is not doing what it needs to be doing. I understand they want to protect the stars, but look at the stars. Where they at? A lot of the stars, you know what, they're in street clothes because nobody's hitting in practice. I'm not even going to get on the quarterback. I understand the quarterback position is a glamour position in football. You don't watch your quarterback getting hurt. But even some of those calls are just absolutely ridiculous. I feel so bad for defensive players in the NFL. How are you supposed to tackle? How are you supposed to hit a quarterback? How are you supposed to play defensive back? Explain it to me. How are you supposed to send a message in a physical game that we're going to be physical if you're going to get flagged? It doesn't work. Costing teams games. The physicality or lack thereof, it's why players are getting injured. It's costing teams players in games, and it's also the penalties or lack thereof. It's costing teams games as well. Again, if you want to call in, you can call in at 516-590-0355. This is CST Sports Radio with Nick Gill. Listen, it's not going anywhere. This is going to continue to happen. You're going to continue to see players getting hurt every week in the NFL because of the lack of physicality and the lack of hitting in practice and in the preseason. These guys got to play. They have to play. Always played before. Now they don't, and look what's happening. You're trying to preserve? No, you're serving up a watered down NFL, a watered down product. You're not getting everyone's best. You're not. The best thing you can hope for is by the playoffs, everyone gets healthy. Because if not, you're signing guys off the street. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. You see their backfield? I'm going to go try out. I'm going to go try out for the Ravens backfield. I'm going to go try out for running back. Of course, I'm joking. But I'm saying, I might get picked up. That's how bad it is. Defensive lineman. It's at every position. Defensive lineman, running back, tight end, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, defensive lineman. It's an ER. And I don't want to see it no more. The NFL thinks they're doing the right thing. This is not the right thing. It is a physical sport. It is a violent sport. This is not the right thing. You should not be holding these players back from some kind of contact, some kind of physicality during preseason and during practice. I'm telling you, it'll make a difference. And defenseless receiver, you remember those days? Let me break it down like this. Remember those days, guys returning a kick, a guy's rolling out, your quarterback's rolling out, your running back's trying to cut, somebody's trying to tackle him, and you peel back and deplete that player, and everybody's like, ooh, right? The old NFL, right? Remember that? I know I sound like an old head, but it is what it is, the old NFL. Remember how that used to work? Did they tell the player who got hit? I'm sure people who play football, you could tell me, keep your head on a swivel. There's a reason why they told you to keep your head on a swivel, so you can see that guy peeling back can lay you on your ass. It's happened to me. It's happened to the best of them. I get it. It's dangerous. I get it. It's brutal. I get it. It's man-on-man, hitting, smashing. Okay, that's football. That's what we want to see. Some stuff, I'm sorry, just some stuff just belongs in the game. A receiver goes to reach out and catch a ball. You deliver a big hit. We're all taught that. There was no flag. Next time that receiver came across the middle, he short-armed it. We call it alligator arms. And maybe I don't want to catch that. Maybe I want to leave that pass alone. You know why? Because the defense can send a message. Now you got these defenders who are trying to make plays and trying to make tackles, and they can't. You know why? Because they're thinking too much. I got to get my head over here. I got to get my shoulder over here. Oh, wait, I can't fall on top of the quarterback. I got to tilt my body to the side. Like, come on. And then because of that, you'll see a quarterback spit out of a tackle, spit out of a guy's tackle who's twice as big as they are and twice as strong. Somehow they spun away from them and got 15 yards on the field, or a receiver got open and throw a bomb for a touchdown. It's not a level playing field. It's bad enough the defense is at a disadvantage anyway. And this is coming from an offensive guy. Defense is at a disadvantage to begin with. I don't care what the rules are. The offense has a little bit of advantage. They know exactly where they're going to go and how they're going to get there. The defense's job is to recognize what's going on and react. How are you supposed to react when you have to think about how you're going to tackle a person and what side you're supposed to tackle them on, if your head's in the way, if your head is up? A good tackle is a good tackle. You know the bad tacklers. There are bad tacklers who tackle with the crown of their helmet. They don't last very long. We were always taught to tackle with our shoulder, and guys are doing that and still getting flagged. So I would just like to see some type of change in the rules. Wherever they set the rules, wherever they sit down and have their little meetings for the NFL, for the NFL Referees Union, every year when they sit down, they need to revisit the rules and revisit the rules of the practices, because this NFL that I love, it just doesn't look the same. Fix it, please. All right. Now, like I said at the beginning of the show, everyone knows I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it right now, and I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't promote people losing their job. I don't promote people getting fired. I believe everybody has a second chance or should get a second chance. Nagy needs to go. Nagy needs to go as the Chicago Bears head coach and play caller, because he's terrible. Terrible. He is a terrible head coach. His fault. It's not Justin Fields' fault. It's Nagy's fault. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's not Justin Fields' fault that he got sacked. You ready for this? 9 times on Sunday. 9 times. It almost seems like a sabotage. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't want to say that, but it sounds like a conspiracy. Let me get this kid in here, throw him to the wolves, and be like, okay, I told you he ain't ready yet. I want to go with Dalton. Andy Dalton's my guy. So in the meantime, let's ruin this kid? I don't understand it. He is the future of the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears haven't been this excited about a franchise quarterback. Come on, not in my lifetime. Not in my lifetime. And this is what we're going on. This is how you're handling the situation. Somebody got to go. The GM, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, whoever. Somebody's got to go, or they all got to go. I don't care what you got to do. I know it's the beginning of the season. Justin Fields was shuffling around in the pocket, and there was nobody around him. He was shuffling, physically, literally, shuffling around like a jitterbug in the pocket You know why? Because he's expecting to get smashed. He's expecting to get hit and sacked. Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks. 4.5 sacks. And you know what they did? They kept single blocking him. What does that tell you? They don't know what the hell they're doing in Chicago. I think, talk to a buddy of mine. He thinks they should stick with the kid. I'm not so sure. And people say, oh, well, you know, it could hurt his confidence if they pull him out now. His confidence? Did you see the last game? He had no confidence at the end of the game. He was scared. Visibly scared. You don't want your quarterback go through that. So you know what you do? Put Andy Dalton back. If they're not going to fire Nagy, put Andy Dalton back in there. Have him take the lumps and get the kid ready for the future. Put Andy Dalton back in there. Because you didn't do anything else. You didn't make any adjustments. You're an NFL head coach. I could go out there, I could go out there, see what's going on, right? We need max protection. We need quick hitch passes. We need quick slants. We need design QB rollouts. You can't figure this out? I don't understand the direction of the Chicago Bears. I don't understand what they're doing. The city of Chicago and Chicago Bears fans in general are starving for anything. Something. Some kind of hope. It's sad. The line is sad. And the coaching is sad. I can't even blame the defense. Defense has to do whatever they have to do to stop the other team from scoring. But as football works, and as many of you know, you go 3 and out, 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 3 and out. Your defense goes right back on the field, and they're tired. I know I was hard. Talking to my buddy. I was kind of hard. We were both kind of hard on Khalil Mack because it looks like he's not playing inspired football at all. He doesn't even look like he wants to do anything. He'll make a play here and there. It doesn't look right. I don't know if it's because he doesn't want to be in Chicago, or maybe it's just because he's tired. He could just be tired. Again, if you want to call in and give your thoughts, you can call at 516-590-0355. This is CT Sports Radio with Nick Gill. It's sad, man. It's sad. I don't know what else to say about it. You've watched the games. You've seen the games. You've seen the Chicago Bears games. You see how this is going. You see how this is playing out. Matt Nagy needs to go. They should bring back Lovie Smith. Let's see Lovie Smith. I'm all right with Lovie Smith. Bring him back. Bring back Lovie Smith. That's right, I said it. Oh, but looks like we got a call on the line. Thanks for calling CT Sports Radio with Nick Gill, who I got on the line today.
What's going on, Nick Gill? This is Brian. How are you?
Hey, Brian, I was just talking about you. How you doing?
Yeah. I heard. Rough one for the Bears. I don't know about bringing back Lovie Smith. I got to be honest about that. I don't know about bringing him back, but you're definitely right. We definitely need to get rid of Nagy. No two ways about it. Horrible play caller. Proves it time and time again.
So, I don't know if you heard, but I brought this theory, right, the conspiracy theory about sabotage. I know it's a stretch. I understand that. But it just didn't look right. It just looked like, hey, kid, I'm going to throw you out there, sink or swim. They didn't double team anyone, and they left all those linemen. Just Peters is terrible anyway, but they left those linemen out there on the island, and it didn't seem like they had any game plan for them.
So you bring up a great point, and you're not the only one that feels like it was a sabotage. I don't know if you saw the former UConn quarterback, Darren Orlovsky. He said the same thing. He said of ESPN. He was completely sabotaged. Either that or the fact that you don't know how to adjust a game plan. You go in at halftime like, okay, this isn't working, and come in the second half and you try to do the same thing. So, I mean, I had my issues with him last year. I remember when Bill Lazor got the play calling duties, the offense was scoring over 30 points a game. And then all of a sudden, Nagy was like, oh, wait, Lazor's getting credit. I got to take those play calling duties back. And then what do? The offense just goes back. Now, granted, we're playing better opponents, but still, if something's working, why go away from that? That's what a great coach does. They hire great people to make them look better. I mean, I just don't get it. He's too stubborn in his ways. I wanted him fired last year, but it is what it is. I do know this. They lose to the Lions, he's out.
Exactly, and that's the point. You made a great point because I'm not a Mitch Trubisky guy, but when the play calling was catered to Mitch Trubisky, he had success. He was able to roll out, make plays. That's what he does best. You got to make plays and call plays that suit your quarterback, and they're just not doing that, man. And I know we kind of talked about this before, and you like, oh, maybe they should just stick with the kids. But I mean, I don't know where they go from here, to tell you the truth. I have no clue.
So as I told you, I mean, the defense, I thought they played well. I'm very happy to see that Robert Quinn is playing up to his contract that he got last year. He was terrible last year. And I mean, him and Mac were amazing. But like you said, you're on the field for 40 minutes. The defense kept us in much longer than they had to. I mean, Eddie Jackson, though, I don't know what is up with him. Regresses. Had a great game against Cincinnati and then a terrible game again. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him. I wish he would just I wish he would figure it out. But I do think that you do need to continue to play him. And the reason why I say that is I kind of look at what Trevor Lawrence is going through. Jacksonville's not going anywhere this year. He's got to take his lumps like Manning did. Manning was terrible his first year. Both Mannings were terrible their first year. So I think Fields has to come up. The one thing I'm concerned with, and I don't know what your opinion on this is if the Bears season does not go well, they show no progression, and then all of a sudden we get a new coach, a new GM, is Justin Fields the quarterback that new coach and GM want? Because if not, then we're back at square one all over again, and we're literally redoing the entire circle.
And that is things that I don't think average fans don't understand. So, it's easy for me to sit up here and say, it's easy for us to be like, oh, now you got to go, right? And you get a new regime in there, and they don't want the person. Kind of like what happened in Denver with Tebow, and they wasn't really in love with Tebow. Elway wasn't in love with Tebow. They weren't in love with Tebow, even though he had success, and they got rid of him. So what you have to do is, you can't assume that the next regime of coaches is going to want to have Andy Dalton come in. I'm not Andy Dalton, sorry, Justin Fields, have him come in, and that's their style quarterback they want for their system. That's not always true, and that's not always correct, and you're right. We'll be back at square one again. And my problem is with just letting the kid play and everything is, I understand Jacksonville, but the rich history of the Chicago Bears, man, goes back so far, and our fans are so frustrated that it's like, God, another season that we have, it just feels like it's never ending. It's like a whirlpool. I don't know, man. I don't know what to think.
No, it's tough. They're stuck in a state of mediocrity, and that's the worst to be. You either want to be terrible so you can rebuild through the draft, or you want to be great where you're going to the playoffs every year. But you bring up a good point in building around the quarterback. Look at what the Browns have done. They've built around Baker Mayfield's strengths with play-action passes and rollouts and things like that. And look how successful he was last year and even this year. So I completely agree with everything you say. Build around your quarterback's strengths and then let them do what they need to do. Like Daniel Jones, he's the only one that I can't really figure out. He's played much better this year, but I still don't know what he is.
Yeah.
But look at Sam Darnold. Darnold's the man of the Panthers at the moment.
And that's why it could just be an organizational thing. And you're right about Mayfield's Steelers team. So you can do it. It can be done. You need the right mindset and the right coach. It can be done. I don't know. You're right. They're stuck in that gray area, so I don't know what Chicago's going to do. I don't believe in tanking, but it's just all right, we need to hit the reset button, or we need to go all in and figure out what this offense is going to be. We know what the defense is going to be. It's usually always the same. We got to figure out what this offense is going to be. And I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Let me ask you this then, being a Bears fan like you are, and I know obviously it's Connecticut sports talk, so, it's all sports encompassing. But
Absolutely.
Would you trade any of the high-profile defensive players that the Bears have for draft capital? Like, would you trade Khalil Mack? Would you trade Robert Quinn, if somebody said? Would you trade Akeem Hicks, who's on the last year of his contract?
That's a great question, and my answer would be I would give it a couple of more weeks before it would be in the back of my head if I was the GM, but I would give it a couple more weeks just to see where these guys are on defense, where their contracts are, and how they're living up to their contracts. And yes, if they don't live up to their contract, if they don't pick it up or show any signs of fight or any signs of inspired football or just wanting to go out there and do something for the team and being a team player, I would absolutely trade and try to get some more picks, get younger, get faster, get some hungry players in there because it's about the future, obviously. Like, right now is right now, but we have to look into the future.
And that's the saddest part of it all because we don't have a first-round draft pick next year.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good point. And those, I think I would definitely consider trading those top flight players and getting some help or getting some draft picks, like you said, for next year or the year after, and just getting younger and getting these players developed in their system. So whatever system that is.
Great point.
Right. But, yeah, man, we'll see how it goes. Maybe there's somebody at the end of the tunnel, maybe not, but it's hard to be a Bears fan.
It is. But
it is, definitely.
Always great talking with you. Thank you for letting me chat with you.
All right, brother. I'll take it easy. Thank you for calling. Bye. And there you go. What I was referring to earlier, Brian Wellington. And he brought up some interesting points. We have no draft picks for next year, no early round draft picks for next year. And if we're not going nowhere and we're not seeing no progress within the next couple of weeks, I would try, if I was a GM, to try to make some changes and try to make some trades because you got to build through the draft. I understand there's free agency too, but a lot of these teams you see with success, they built through the draft. Cleveland Browns, they built through the draft. Even the Pittsburgh Steelers, old school, built through the draft. So we got to go for it. And again, the NFL, I got to see a change. We got to see football for what it is. It's violent. People are going to get hurt. Unfortunately, that's part of the game. But you won't see a disastrous amount of guys going down week by week if you just let them hit a little. I'm beating a dead horse, but it's just frustrating watching the NFL each week and seeing these guys go down. Seeing this team's best at this team's best. And if the NFL doesn't get it right or go in the right direction, I don't know. Unless people are going to be able to watch this when they can't even recognize the guys on the field. Star driven, you want to protect the stars, but the stars are dropping like flies. Explain it to me because I don't know. All right, thank you guys for listening. Man, that was a good show. I know they're few and far in between. Kind of get these shows a little closer there. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Again, this is CT Sports Radio with Nick Gill, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.